Hello again, this is Mike bringing you another tutorial. I thought it would be cool to start a series of Unity tutorials focusing on creating a space sim in Unity. I've been working on my own space sim for a long time, and I don't know if I'll ever actually get it out, but I'm always playing around with new ways to implement things in my game, and I thought, as I was trying to figure things out, I wish there were more tutorials on how to do certain things. So I thought I'd start a series of tutorials about it. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure you subscribe to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how to use Unity to create a 3D skybox. So a 3D skybox in space games allows you to create elaborate space scenes at runtime using or reusing your art assets. So you can procedurally generate new scenes on the fly, have a player go through hyperspace and land in a new place, and then run your code to create a scene. And you can also use assets that are smaller than they appear, because you can use a 3D skybox to kind of create zoomed in perspectives so that the player will see a giant planet rather than the small one that you're probably using in the scene. Another benefit to the 3D skybox is the player won't crash into a planet unless you want it to, and then you can kind of set it up to do that too. But everything is kind of set up in the background, and that way you can have your action, you can have your asteroid field or your space station, but then the backdrop are big planets and nebula and things like that. So we're going to show you how to do that. I'd like to show you my demo here, something similar to what we're going to be making, just using the standard first-person controller from Unity. So I'm kind of in a little spaceship type of thing here, and I have a platform that you can walk out of it into the space here. Not very realistic, but so this scene is using the Unity character controller, but it's also using a 3D skybox. And so to accomplish this, we have two different cameras. One's on the first-person controller, and then there's another one that's being used to generate the background. So you'll see here there's this giant planet, and there's a smaller one up there, and actually they're about the same size. They're just the way that the 3D skybox works. You can make some look much closer than and bigger using the trick here that I'll show you in a minute. And also there's the nebulas in the background and a sun. And then inside here we have some implementation for how you might do like windows inside your spaceships. So none of these are cutouts, so they don't show directly what's outside. These are all render textures. So you'll see the ones on the side here are all just using a camera that's looking in a certain direction. So if you wanted to create a window or a computer screen in your spaceship that looked out at a certain part of the scene, you could do that. And these are actually live, so if there was a spaceship flying by, you'd be able to see it. But they're all kind of looking in the same direction. So it looks a little weird when you have them all lined up. But and then this one uses a special script to kind of give you some rotation, so you can kind of look out and around, so a little bit more like a window. You can kind of see what's outside, so you can look down at the planet. So it's kind of a cool effect. Again, it looks a little weird when you have multiple windows or screens kind of right next to each other, but one by itself is actually pretty cool. So let's get started on how this works. Okay, so I guess I'll just take you through kind of how we're going to do this from the ground up. So the first thing that you want to do is just create a new scene. We won't save that. And you want to download the Unity standard asset package if you're going to use the first-person controller. So if you just go on the Unity Asset Store, type in standard, you'll see it right here. So just grab this, import it into your scene. There's a bunch of stuff, but it's helpful to have. So for now, you can rely on it. If you want to make your own first-person controller, or if you already have one, you can bring it in. But if you want to just get started, import this. And I've got mine already imported, so I'll be using the first-person controller in a second. So get that downloading though. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a cube and make it big. Alright, so kind of like that spaceship that I had before. And we'll just go to reset, so that it's at 0, 0. Okay, and then go grab the first-person controller and characters and just drop it. Alright, so just make sure he's on the platform so that they don't fall into space here. Okay, so once you have the first-person controller in your small space platform, we're going to just add a little bit of space background here. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of this skybox and just make it, so select the camera and then go under clear flags and just put solid, and we'll just make it black. Sorry, we have two cameras in here, so you can delete the original camera, and we're going to make a new one soon. But so go under first-person controller, set the background to black. Alright, so now you can see you've got kind of a black sky here. And then, just for some effect, we're going to add a particle system. Set that to kind of the center. Alright, and we're going to just use this to make stars real quick. So first thing I do is select the particle system, go to duration, just make it last a really long time, and then make the particle, I usually do pre-warm, that way it will just already be set up when you load the scene, and then start lifetime, again, just make it a really long time. Get rid of the speed, make the speed 0. And you can leave basically all this stuff the same, so start size can still be 1. I'm going to leave the color white. So in here we have max particles is 1,000, that's probably fine. And then we're going to make the rate like bigger than 1,000, so they just kind of all shoot it out at once. And then under shape, you want a sphere. And I think like 100 should be fine for the radius. And there's a couple other things you could do here. This kind of gives the skybox some depth, so you can kind of leave it like this. There is a way to make it attached to the shell of the sphere, and what's this? Yeah, it could be the radius thickness, I'm not quite sure, but anyway, for our purposes we can just leave it like this. So now we have kind of a star field. Alright, and then so now we have our first-person controller and we have our star field, and it's not really a 3D skybox yet. So to get started on that, once we have that, we need to do a few things. So we're going to create a second camera, and we're going to give this camera the same kind of thing that we were doing before, so make it black, solid color black, and that's fine. The other thing we want to do is, I believe it's a -1 for depth, and we're going to create a layer. Oh, so I already have it created because I've been working on this project. So go into layers and go down to user layer 31 and just type in background. So again, you just go select your camera, go to layer, select background. So, and if you need to add it, go to add layer and add background. Now, so this camera here, we can just rename it background camera. And so we have a clear flag of solid, we've got a background of black, we've got the layer as background, and we've set the depth to -1. I'll double check that in a second, but the next thing we want to do is probably get rid of the audio listener since we have one on the first person controller, and then you want to find the culling mask, which is here, and select nothing and then select background. So now this camera is going to only be responsible for things that are on the background layer. So the next thing you want to do is go into the first person controller, go to the first person character, and find the camera attached to the first person character. And then go to clear flags, and instead of that solid color that we set before, we're going to click depth only, and then we're going to deselect background. So we have everything else but background selected. And so this now is going to not draw the background, but the background's going to draw first, and then we're going to draw what the first person sees. So we're going to draw the background farthest stuff away, then the things closer to us. And the two cameras will combine in Unity. So the next thing we can do is this particle system is our stars, and we can set them to the background. Alright, so I've noticed a problem here. My stars are not showing up. Well, there they are. Okay, so stars are showing up, so that's good. So if we now we have a background camera and a first-person camera. So you'll see here now we have our platform, which is in the foreground, and then we have our stars in the background. There is something weird going on here you might see. Say if we add just another cube here as like a wall, we'll just put it up here. So just want to give the player some perspective here. So you'll see if we turn to the wall, that space background is always showing us the same angle, right? So it's kind of weird. It's not going to look good. If we add a quick sphere and throw it in to our background, and we have our planet. We set it to background here, and then you go in. You're going to see, no matter how much you spin around, you're not going to be able to see it because the background camera is not turning with the player. So you need to create a script that makes the background camera follow the player. So, and you just want it to follow the rotation. So I have a script here called match rotation. And I'll bring it up. It's pretty easy to write. So you're just going to create a script, and if you've never created a script before, you're going to select your background camera, go in here, and just type match rotation. And you'll have the ability to select a new script, call it what you want, and then click create and add. Okay, so if you do that, you'll then want to type in a couple of things to create the script. So the first thing you want to do is create a public transform target, and you do that inside the class, inside the match rotation class, but above the start. And then in start, you can just set the transform rotation, so the transform of this object, so it'll be the camera, to the target rotation, and that we're going to set to the player. Okay, and then we're going to copy that, put the same thing in our update. So you might not even need the start, but so every frame we're just going to update the rotation of the player and the camera together. And if we do that, so I'm just going to move my match rotation on here. So once you have your script, you'll have an empty target box. So then you just want to take the first person character, which is where the camera's attached to. I believe that's what you want. So let's see if that works. So as we turn now, you'll see the space camera is turning with us. So, and that's what we want. We want to be able to kind of have a natural look. We don't want to move. We don't want the space camera to move with us. We just want to be able to see stuff as we turn around. Okay, so very simple script. I can put it up on the screen again for you. So you're just doing transform.rotation equals target rotation. Okay, so once you have that, you've got the basics for a space camera. So I like to create an empty object and just zero it out and just call this like background. And then any objects that are going to be part of my background scenery, I'm just going to put in my my background object, and that way I can kind of keep track of my scene. This could also come in handy later if you want to do like a floating origin. So I keep getting some warnings for my duration being too long, so I'm just going to reduce this 9, I guess. And then, so maybe that will clear out that. Alright, so we've got our stars, we've got a little planet here, we've got a background game object that's just an empty object container. We've got the beginnings of our little spaceship, and then we have our background camera and our first-person controller. So these things are set up now to be a 3D camera. Now, you know, if you want to make your scene a little bit more pretty, you can add some materials and textures. So if you want to add a texture to your planet, you can create a new material, call it a planet material, and I've got some textures here from the Space for Unity asset pack, and I don't have the whole thing imported here, but I've got a few planet textures, so I'm just going to use this desert planet texture, toss it in there, and then drop it on my planet. And they've got better shaders and things like that, and I'll put an affiliate link in the description for you if you want to take a look at that asset package. It's been around a long time, but it's still pretty good. Not sure how it works with 2019, but the assets themselves are pretty cool, and it does have a space scene generator that's real nice. Okay, so I just added my planet here. Let's see, the other thing you can add to your space scene, just real quick, is so inside background, we're just going to create another 3D object and call it a quad. And in here, I'm going to create another material. And I'm going to make it a nebula. And so nebulas are great for space scenes. They're a little trickier though, so I'm going to add this nebula texture. And one of the things about this is I need to make it kind of see-through. So particle additive sort of works for this. Okay, so I have a quad, and you can see it down there in the screen. It's currently not set to the background layer. Now it is. And I'm just going to make it bigger. And I'm going to add my nebula texture to it. Alright, so we have our nebula texture. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than that. Alright. So that's that. Okay. So one of the things that kind of comes up with a space scene is when you have kind of a flat texture object out in space like this, sometimes they look a little weird. So it doesn't look too bad right here, but say I move it up and try it. See, that looks kind of weird. So you see it looks kind of scrunched and flat. So what's happening is it's a two-dimensional object, so it does not look 3D kind of in the side view. So one way to fix that is to create another super simple script. So again, you'd go add and create a new script. So I'm calling this one face target. So you just type face target and then click new script. So I have a script called face target. I'll show you what that does. It's very similar to the match rotation script. So in this one, all you're going to do is have a target again, so a public transform target, and then in the start, you're just going to do transform look at and the target dot position. So you're taking the transform of your target, so you just do target dot position, and this transform look at will just turn whatever you add to it towards your target. So how that works is you want to once again have this actually turn, instead of matching the rotation of the first-person controller, you want it to just turn towards the background camera. So drag the background camera onto the face target, and then what this will do is at the start of the scene, it will turn the nebula so that it faces the camera. So it's not going to change once you start the scene, but it will always look face on the camera. So it kind of gives the right angle for the background camera and doesn't give you kind of like a side angle or some weird distortion. So that's another simple script for when you're doing your 3D camera. Okay, so we have that, and those two scripts plus the way you set up the background camera and the regular camera is basically how you do a 3D skybox. There's a couple other things you can add to this that are kind of gotchas as well. So right now we've just been using a directional light, and that light is lighting up everything in the scene, and that doesn't really work so well for the space scene, because now you have kind of things that are at different scales. So the way that you can handle that is if you create a sun sphere in your background. So set the layer of background again. We're going to put this out here. Maybe we'll put it on this side. So now we're going to have light coming from this object. And how you do that is take that directional light that you had before and just drag it onto the sphere. And then we're just going to zero it out for now. So reset. Okay, so that really messed everything up, but that was kind of weird. Alright, so I just undid what I did, because I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think I just somehow, I guess I flipped around the light or something like that. So anyway, the trick to this is that you have your sun and you have your directional light, and on the sun object itself you want to add another light. So So on the sphere object, that's your sun, you're going to add a point light. So light, point, and you're going to want to make it big so that you can light up your planets and things like that in your space scene, in your background scene. You can give it kind of an orange color if you want. Okay, and then you have your directional light that currently is not facing the right way. So how do you fix that? You can do your best to kind of angle it the way it should be. You can see it's not really correct. But the other trick is we have our face target, and just so add that to the directional light and then add the background camera there, and then when you load up on start, the directional light will face the where the basically the center of the world is. So you'll always have that directional light pointing in the right direction. Okay, now we have two different light sources, so we need to make sure they're lighting the proper scenes. So the light that's on the sphere itself, the point light, you want that to be your background light. So inside the light, down at the bottom, there's a culling mask. Select nothing, and then select background. Now this means that it will not light your spaceship or your character or anything like that. It's just going to light the things that are in the background. And then the directional light, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to look at the light. You're going to unselect background. So now you have that. And our planet looks a little dark. So we need to figure out, maybe we need to boost up the intensity a little bit. It is a sun after all. Okay, so now we have our sun. Now you've got this nice light. We can't actually see our sun. Let's see where we put it. Okay, so I'm just going to make this bigger. I'll pull it back a little bit, and then I'm going to add a different material to this. So in the standard assets pack, there's a particle fire cloud. That actually looks pretty cool as a sun. Alright, so there's our sun. Alright. Doesn't really look convincingly like a sun right now, but it is lighting. As you can see, we're getting the sunlight from it, and the planets are also being lit up like that. Okay, so one other trick to just make it a little bit more sunlight, like if you have the standard asset pack, you can add a flare. And actually, don't add the flare to the point light, add it to the directional light. It's going to be the one that the player is going to be kind of looking at. So yeah, so now it kind of glows like the sun. Flares are a little finicky, but sometimes they look pretty cool when they work. You can also add a halo to the sun. That didn't work. So that, I would say, do not add the halo to the directional light. Add the halo to the point light. Ooh, that looks terrible, but you get the idea. We can make the make it glow a little bit. I guess the only way to reduce the halo is with the intensity, so maybe we don't want that. I suppose you could add a second light and add a better halo to it to make it glow. So anyway, you've got your sun, and there's plenty of shaders out there that make kind of a cool sun look. So anyway, that's what you have here. You've got your directional light now, you've got your point light, you've got your space scene being lit up. The last thing that I was going to show you is how to make kind of like a space window. So if we go down to our wall here, And I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We'll just pop it up. And I'm going to do Control D and just duplicate my wall here, actually. Just rotate it. Ooh. Alright, so now I have my two walls, and on this wall here, I'm going to add a quad. And that was a mistake. Okay, so just add the quad outside the wall. Okay, so you can use the resize to make it a little bit bigger, however you want to do it. Alright, so we're going to make this into like a window. And how you do that is you're going to go to Project Create, and you're going to find Render Texture. So Render Texture, call this Space Window. So you can set all sorts of stuff here for your render texture. The size that it comes with, you'll see, is really pixelated, but we can fix that. And then basically it doesn't really do anything yet. So you can just add it to your, just drag it onto your quad, and it will replace the mesh renderer's material with a space window. So you don't have to create a material for this. You just take it and drag it onto your object, and it creates this shader. And now the shader, you might want to switch from standard to something else. I like unlit texture because shadows and things like that will affect the render texture and make it look kind of weird. So you'd have to tweak that to see what you think looks good in your game. But right now, unlit texture is probably a great way to do it. Okay, so now we have a quad. We've got a render texture, but this render texture doesn't do anything yet. So what you do is you take the background camera, and you're going to duplicate it. So you can right click, duplicate, and I'm going to call this window camera. Now this camera is going to do everything that the background camera does, but it's not going to split to the screen. It's going to target a render texture. So grab your space window render texture again and drag it into the target texture box. Okay, so once we have that, now this camera, and we'll just zero it out so that it's kind of in the center. I don't know, is the background camera weird? Yeah, it is a little bit off. Okay, but anyway, yeah, we'll set this to 0, 0, 0 as well. Okay, so you have your window camera, which is the same as your background camera, but now it's only targeting the render texture. So if we go into first person mode, you'll see we have a window that we can kind of look around in. So if we had a roof on our thing, we wouldn't see our see up out, but we'd be able to see through our window what's going on outside. So that's kind of how you can do a space window. You might want to put like a little edge around it. If you want to make it more windowy, this is kind of how you do it. You keep the follow script on there, the match rotation. If you don't want the match rotation, you just want to see what the window camera sees, you can do that, and then it just will be kind of static. And then you can also point this window camera at whatever you want. So say you wanted to have like a screen on your dashboard or something that looks out at certain parts of the ship. You can do that with this type of camera. So you could have like a camera that is just connected to your turrets or something like that. So I'll just rotate this a little bit, have it look at the planet, and you can see now we're just looking at the planet. Okay, so that's how you do a render texture to make a space window. So that kind of wraps up everything that I was planning on showing you today. So that's basically how you make a 3D skybox for a space game. Hope that was helpful, and leave some comments. Make sure you subscribe, and if you make something cool with this, leave a link in the description or in the comments below so I can check it out. Thanks a lot, and tune in next time for another tutorial.